All right, everyone. Welcome to the last and final video of the Tarot Deep Dive. And I'll tell you what, man, it's actually been such an incredible journey doing this because, like, the stuff that's sort of changed in my life just from overdoing it, maybe a little bit, but you know, just explaining it to myself and reading from it and like spouting out my thoughts has been an incredibly edifying experience, and the amount of change that has happened personally in my own little microcosm is immense. And you know, I think this is probably something, an exercise that everyone should do. They should contemplate the tarot, look at what they all mean, and like, I cannot recommend this book enough because this will teach you about the deacons and the and all other kinds of stuff and the astrology related to it and how it all ties in together with the greater tapestry of the universe. And yeah, and of course the site that I usually read from, No Faith in the Human Race, which is just basically the book of Thoth online. I guess the last thing that I would probably want to say is yeah, do it yourself even maybe. Feels a bit weird knowing that this is about to come to an end. I'm going to have to go back to making normal content if I want to just continue doing anything online. I probably will, after this one, go into like a 3-month sort of grace period where I will just mull and think over things. I mean, about in regards to the tarot, maybe not so much content. I'll have to think about it though. But yeah, this is it. All right, let's get into it. The first one, love, is the first card in the suit, and we're going to be doing it from start to finish because I'll be able to do it in one video, knowing how short it took last time. So here we go. Love, harmony of masculine and feminine united, harmony, pleasure, mirth, subtlety, battlefield, dignified, folly, dissipation, waste, silly actions. The two always represents the word and the will. It is the first manifestation. Therefore, in the suit of water, it must refer to love, which recovers unity from individuality by mutual annihilation. Yeah, so basically two things become one. It's the same sort of thing. So basically they're all sort of united. It's a bit like when, like in coitus, in a sense, the man and the woman become one flesh. And when I think about that, it's you should probably take like the matter of copulation quite a lot more seriously, and not just use it as some kind of profane masturbation sort of thing. So this card also refers to Venus in Cancer. Cancer is, more than any other sign, the receptive sign. It is the house of the moon, and in that sign, Jupiter is exalted. There are superficially the three most friendly of the planets. The hieroglyph of the card represents two cups in the foreground, overflowing upon a calm sea. They are fed with lucent water from a lotus floating upon the sea, from which rises another lotus, around whose stem are entwined twin dolphins. The symbolism of the dolphin is very complicated and must be studied in books of reference, but the general idea is that of the royal art, the dolphin is peculiarly sacred to alchemy. I'll probably have to look into that because I never thought about dolphins being sacred to alchemy. I don't know what it is about their character that makes them alchemical, other than they're pretty intelligent and they're technically air creatures. Like they breathe from the surface, not the water. So they're, while being a water creature. So I have to look at that. The number 2 referring to will, this card might really be renamed the Lord of Love under will, for that it is full and true meaning. It shows the harmony of the male and the female. Interpreted in the largest sense, it is perfect and placid harmony, radiating an intensity of joy and ecstasy. Of necessity, the realization of the idea in the 4, as the suit develops, will gradually diminish the purity of its perfection. So like the highest form of love, I guess, is just water in its most purest, exalted form. Now the obligatory Lon Milo explanation. The Two of Cups is perhaps the most beautiful small cards of the Thoth Tarot. While Harris doesn't completely ignore the color scale, she does give herself room for innovation. The calm green sea, the rose-colored lotuses, and the amber dolphins, or are they koi, conform nicely, but she breaks rank by giving use of us a violet sky. The card is magnificently beautiful and fitting representative of the first manifestation of the element of water. It is the energy of water in its best and highest form. House shows her appreciation of the card by sharing a perhaps apocryphal event involving the card. Also at exhibition, a little person aged 2, scuttling and crawling, was asked which picture. Straight she went to number 2 of Cups, love. I thought she would forget and asked her again 10 minutes later, and she toddled off the same picture. That, she said again. Between the number 2, Hockwell and the Tree of Life is particularly expressive of will, Crowley wrote. This card might be renamed a Lord of Love under will, for that is full and true meaning. It shows the harmony of male and female, interpreted in the largest sense. It is perfect and placid harmony, radiating the intensity of joy and ecstasy. All right. There's that one. So we will now go to Three of Cups, abundance. Where are you? So abundance, plenty, success, pleasure, sensuality, passive success, good luck and fortune, love, gladness, kindness, liberality. This card refers to the binder in the suit of water. This is a card of Demeter or Persephone. The cards are pomegranates. They are filled bountifully to overflowing from a single lotus, arising from the dark calm sea characteristic of Bina. There is here the fulfillment of the will of love in abounding joy. It is the spiritual basis of fertility. Abundance, is how fertility comes about in the first place. The card is referred to the influence of Mercury in Cancer. This carries further the above thesis. Mercury is the will or word of the father. Here it influences descending upon the most receptive of the signs. At the same time, the combination of these forms of energy brings the possibility of somewhat mysterious ideas. Bina, the great sea, is the moon in one aspect, but Saturn in another. And Mercury, besides being the word or will of the All One, is the guide of the souls of the dead. This card requires great subtlety of interpretation. The pomegranate was the fruit which Persephone ate in the realms of Pluto, thereby enabling him to hold her in the lower world. Even after the most powerful influence has been brought to bear, the lesson seems to be that the good things of life, although enjoyed, should be distrusted. I think it just comes to the fact that it can, the abundance and joy of life can, very quickly turn it into debauchery and all that other kind of things, and you just got to be careful how much you bring into that sphere. Three Cups, abundance. 3 factors of our former conspire to create a marriage made in heaven. Mercury is the will or the word of the All-Father, Crowley states. Here its influence descends upon the most receptive of signs. In an exuberant interpretation of the Golden Dawn model, Harris fills the surface of the Three of Cups to overflowing, the image crowd to the very edges of the card. Her choice of color is drawn directly from the dictated scales with one stunning exception, the bright red pomegranate cups. They are elevated above a tranquil sea by lotuses and filled with living water by other overhanging lotus blossoms. Crowley calls this the card of Demeter and Persephone and the fulfillment of the will of love and abounding joy. It is the spiritual basis of fertility. One could not ask for a more perfect picture of sensuous pleasure and plenty. The imagery of the pomegranates, however, carries a subtle warning. Abundance has its price. Because she swallowed a few seeds of the pomegranate, Persephone was obliged to spend part of every year in the dark realms of her husband, Pluto, and the Lord of the Dead. None of the gods of Olympus, not even great Zeus, could break the spell. Crowley interprets it thus: the lesson seems that the good things of life, although enjoyed, should be distrusted. I think that's just because pomegranates are sort of symbolic of fertility and life and the germ. It's basically that to live here, we have to be in the underworld to enjoy anything at all, and they should be distrusted in that regard. It's the whole descent into matter. All right, we are now going to 4 of Cups. Luxury. This is a really interesting one. Success or pleasure approaching their end, a stationary period in happiness which may or may not continue. It does not mean love and marriage so much as the previous symbol is too passive a symbol to represent perfect, complete happiness. Swiftness, hunting and pursuing. Acquisition by contention, injustice, sometimes some drawbacks to pleasure implied. This card refers to Chesed in the sphere of water, here below the abyss. The energy of this element, although ordered, balanced, and for the moment stabilized, has lost its original purity of the conception. The card refers to the moon in Cancer, which is her own house, but Cancer itself is so placed that it implies a certain weakness, an abandonment to desire. This tends to introduce the seeds of decay into the fruit of pleasure. It's interesting that I was just talking about debauchery and that kind of thing, and so abandoning yourself to desire and I guess lower impulse is always a dangerous thing, and it turns into decay and rot. I mean, we can just look at the decadence of boomers, for example, who lived in one of the most economically prosperous times of their life, and they're the most boomers are some of the most fucking foul people that we know of. Sorry to the boomers who are watching this, but like, if you're not one of those kinds of boomers who've like subjected themselves to like endless debauchery and all that other kind of thing, or wealth while being a greedy piece of shit, then fine, this doesn't apply to you. But groups do tend to have certain characteristics, and unfortunately, boomers are overwhelmingly negative in that regard. The sea is still shown, but its surface is ruffled, and the 4 cups which stand upon it are no longer so stable. The lotus from which the water springs has a multiple stem, as if to show that the influence of the dyad has gathered strength. For altogether, the number 4 is the manifestation and consolidation of the dyad. It also secretly preparing catastrophe by emphasizing individuality. There is a certain parallelism between this card and the geomantic figures via and populars, which are attributed to the moon in a decrease and increase respectively. The link is primarily the change equals stability equation, already familiar to readers of this essay. 4 is an awkward number. Alone among the natural numbers, it is impossible to construct a magic square of 4 cells. Interesting. Even in the Naples arrangement, 4 is a dead stop, a blind alley. An idea of a total different order is necessary to carry on the series. Note also the refolding in upon itself suggested by the magic number of 4, 1 plus 2, and plus 3 plus 4, which is 10. 4 is the number of the curse of limitation, of restriction. It is the blind and barren cross of equal arms. Tetragrammaton in his fatal aspect of finality, as the Kabbalists knew him before the discovery of the revolving formula whereby the daughter, seated upon the throne of the mother, awakens the eld of the All-Father. That's sort of what happens in the Gnostic Mass, like the prince, before he gets made into a priest, seats the princess on the throne of the mother. Yeah, you can see that quite a lot. For the meanings of V and populars, refer to the Handbook of Geomancy. Well, okay, let's go to Babylon. This card is really loaded. As a matter of fact, it borders on being too much of a good thing. Just look at the formula. 4 is Chesed, the fear of generous, expansive, and beneficent Jupiter. Jupiter is exalted in Cancer, and Cancer is ruled by the moon. Can the components of one card get any cozier? No, but in this case, familiarity is starting to breed contempt, and eventually enough will be enough. When this card appears in a reading, enjoy the moment, but don't expect it to last forever. The sea that was so still in the 3 of Cups is now restless. The cups have become heavy. The bottom of 2 have sunk to the water surface, are resting precariously on the lotus stems themselves. The upper 2 cups have actually flattened out the lotus blossoms and have threatened to collapse the entire plant. The source of the water, the single blossom at the top of the card, is wilted and has lost several petals. It gives the appearance that it is about to run out of juice. I believe it is. Like the demiurge itself, the 4 cups in itself absorbs arrogance. Thinks luxury is the god of the suit of cups, all the while never dreaming that it owes its very existence to the sublime true gods of the supernal triad, the Ace, 2, and 3 of Cups. Yeah, so that's basically, well, I want to go back to this idea of the demiurge, because the demiurge is actually us, because it's represented by Zeus, like the sun or sidereal wave, and or Leo even, when you consider Heracles, because he's sort of like the sun. And I think when you think about that, like, we got to be careful and to realize where we actually came from, unless we go into decadence and luxury and all other kinds of things, and sort of forget who we really are and drinking from the river of forgetfulness, which will eventually degrade into debauchery. All right. 5, Geberra. And this one's always fun because it's like, it's always really negative and it's sort of fun to watch. 5 of Cups. Disappointment. Death or end of pleasure. Disappointment, sorrow, and loss in those things from which pleasure is expected. Sadness, treachery, deceit, ill will. Detraction, charity, and kindness ill-requited. All kinds of anxieties and troubles from unsuspected and unexpected sources. This card is ruled by Geberra in the suit of water. Geberra being fiery, there's a natural antipathy. Hence arises the idea of disturbance just when least expected in a time of ease. The attribution is also to Mars in Scorpio, which is his own house, and Mars is the manifestation of the lowest plane of Geberra. While Scorpio, in its worst aspects, suggests the putrefying power of water, yet the power of male influences do not show actual decay, only the beginning of destruction. Hence, the anticipated pleasure is frustrated. The lotuses have their petals torn by fiery winds, the sea is arid and stagnant, a dead sea like a chot in North Africa. No water flows into the cups. Moreover, these cups are arranged in the form of an inverted pentagram, symbolizing the triumph of matter over spirit. Mars in Scorpio, moreover, is the attribution of the geomantic figure Rubeus. This is of such evil omen that certain schools of geomancy destroy the map and postpone the question for 2 hours or more. Where Rubeus appears in the Senate, it means to be studied in the Handbook of Geomancy. And I believe my Mars is in Scorpio, and I thought that was always a good thing, but now looking at this card, it doesn't seem to be the case. And I can only really deduce, that's been a big part of my life as well. It's just been one long giant series of disappointments and anticipations of pleasure, and it never goes anywhere. So maybe after I've done this video, I will actually do some contemplation on my astrological chart. Okay. Babylon's explanation. With this card, the Suit of Cups takes a dramatic and sinister turn. This is very disappointing because the 5 of Cups has so much going for it. Discarding the configuration of the golden dormer that displays 5 empty cups arranged as a square with 1 cup in the center, Crowley has Harris arrange her cups in an inverted pentagram, symbol in this place of the triumph of matter over spirit. Why? What is it that turns this card sour? Mars rules Scorpio and is very happy to be there. Not only that, all this is in Geberra, the hometown sphere of Mars. So where's the problem? The problem stems from the fact that Mars is too happy to be there. He gets himself too excited to indulge in foreplay. This makes Scorpio nervous. He ends up prematurely blowing such a fiery blast upon the relationship that it retards what might have otherwise been the slow process of passionate decay that Scorpio uses to devour and liberate her lovers. Who among us cannot understand this? Water no longer pours into the cups. The lotus blossom has been completely blown away by the hot martial winds that has turned the sky red. The sea is now a stagnating pool. Now that we can see where the earlier small cards in the suit were taking us, love leads to abundance, which left uncontrolled leads to luxury, which left uncontrolled leads to decadence, boredom, frustration, and disappointment. Right. That's not great. That one. All right. Let's look at this one. All the sun cards are lovely. So, 6 of Cups, pleasure. Commencement of steady increase, gain in pleasure, but commencement only. All affront detection, knowledge, and in some instances, contention and strife arising from unwarranted self-assertion and vanity. Sometimes thankless and presumptuous, sometimes amiable and patient according to dignity as usual. This card shows the influence of the number 6, Tiphareth in the suit of water. This influence is fortified by that of the sun, who also represents the 6. The whole image is that of the influence of the sun on water. His fierce but balanced power operates the type of putrefaction he is in the sign of Scorpio, which is the basis of all fertility, all life. The lotus stems are grouped in an elaborate dancing movement. From their blossoms, water gushes into the cups, but they are not yet full to overflowing, as they are in corresponding card below the 9. Pleasure in the title of this card must be understood in its higher sense. It implies well-being, harmony of natural forces without effort or strain, ease, satisfaction. Foreign to the idea of the card is the gratification of natural or artificial desires. Yeah, it does represent empathetically the fulfillment of the sexual will as shown by the ruling Sephiroth, planet, element, and sign. And yeah, you can sort of see that with like how that sort of descends into Yesod in that sign. In the I Ching, Sol in Scorpio is represented by the 20th hexagram Quan, which is also Big Earth. Being the Earth trigram, which dealt with double lines, Quan meaning manifesting, but also contemplating. The Quan refers directly to an high priest ceremonially purified about to present his offerings. The idea of pleasure putrefaction as a sacrament is therefore implicit in this hexagram as in this card. While the comments on the separate lines by the Duke of Chao indicate the analytical value of the Eucharist, it is one of the master keys to the great gate of initiation. To realize and to enjoy this fully, it is necessary to know, to understand, and to experience the secret of the 9th degree of OTO. All right. How far are we in? 21 minutes. We're now Babylon. Balance returns to the suit as the 6 of Cups. Pleasure finds a most delightful home in Tiphareth, the sphere of the sun. The 4 and 5 of Cups seems like bad dreams, probably brought on by consuming too much rich food and wine. And we now awaken the giddy realization that we are the card that is the direct reflection of the Ace of Cups on the Tree of Life. The sun is outrageously happy to be in Tiphareth and shines with double warmth and pleasantness on the sensuous and fun-loving side of Scorpio. If this is the first card you draw in a tarot reading, you may want to stop right there and quit while you're ahead. This is a terrific card. Crowley agrees. Pleasure in the title of this card must be understood in its high sets. It implies well-being, harmony of natural forces without effort or strain, ease, satisfaction. Foreign to the idea of the card is the gratification of natural or artificial desires. Yet it does represent empathetically the fulfillment of the sexual will as shown by the ruling Sephiroth, planet, element, and sign. The sea is alive with broad, gentle waves, and the lotuses actually dance, leaving stem trails of perfectly symmetrical patterns and arcs. Water is again pouring into the cups from lotus blossoms, but as yet the cups are not filled. 4 of the cups are tilted and appear ready to fall, but they are pressed securely against the stem by the generous water pressure from above. Okay. So obviously a very, very important card. Okay, debauch. This is quite an interesting one. Because obviously everything looks gross in it and looks nasty. Possible victory, but neutralized by the suppiness of the person. Illusionary success, deception in the moment of apparent victory, lying, error, promises unfulfilled, drunkenness, wrath, vanity, lust, fornication, violence against women, selfish dissipation, deception in love and friendship, often success gained but not followed up, modified as usual by dignity. I just want to stop there because I'm starting to notice a common theme. Because when we think about the Sephira, like all the cards, because it always says, I remember back when I was thinking about the devil card, how like it was sort of saying, the devil is the savior, but why isn't the card or the Hierophant like sort of reprimanded for his bigotry? Why isn't the Emperor card for his anger, the Moon for like a bunch of like really negative aspects? If you can actually change the dignity of these cards as they appear, then you can actually use them to your advantage. So when you see a particular card, maybe the best idea is not to like go, oh no, when you're doing your divining or whatever, or in your astrological chart. And instead, try to think about how you can use that in your own life and how it all manifests in that regard. Okay, let's continue. This card refers to the 7, Netzach, and the suit of water. Here occurs the invariable weakness arising from lack of balance. Also, the card is governed by Venus in Scorpio. Her dignity is not good in this sign. One is reminded that Venus is the planet of copper, external splendor, and internal corruption. The lotuses have become poisonous, looking like tiger lilies, and instead of water, green slime issues from them and overflows, making the sea a malarious morass. Venus redoubles the influence of the number 7. The cups are iridescent, carrying out the same idea. They are arranged as 2 descending triangles interlaced above. Oh, they are too. Interlaced above the lowest curve, which is very much larger than the rest. The card is almost the evil and averse image of the 6, which it is a wholesome reminder of the fatal ease with which a sacrament may be profaned and prostituted. Loose, direct touch with Keter, the highest diverged never so little from the delicate balance of the middle pillar. At once, the holiest mysteries of nature become the obscene and shameful secrets of a guilty conscience. Damn. Okay. This is one of the... So, yeah, Crowley is definitely not a fan of the 7 of Cups. This is one of the worst ideas that one can have. Its mode is poison. Its goal madness. It represents the delusion of delirium, transient, and drug addiction. It represents the sinking into the mire of false pleasure. There is something also suicidal about this card. Yeah. Just look at this card if you can. Yuck. What happened to all that great cup stuff high up on the tree? Doesn't sexy Venus like to show off in sexy Scorpio? She does. She likes to show off everywhere. Venus, however, is not well dignified in Scorpio and often embarrasses herself when she visits. You ask, shouldn't she be happy in Netzach, the sphere of Venus? Sure she is. She's so happy she's making herself sick. This is much too much of what was once a good thing, and this low on the tree and this far off balance. There isn't a single influencing factor left to remind her the party's over. This card seems like the next logical step in the abundance, luxury, disappointment sequence. 3 martinis is abundantly enough. 4 is just the luxury of showing off. 5 is disappointing because you're not getting high anymore. You're just getting smashed. But after 7, oh dear. A 7 of Cups is a stumbling dash to the laboratory just moments after you thought you were irresistible to an attractive stranger. Yeah, so don't overdo it, people. It's not good. Otherwise, debauchery ensues. It's not good. Let's go to Hod. And we will start on the 8 of Cups of Indolence. Indolence. Temporary success, but without further results. Things thrown aside as soon as gained, not lasting, even in the matter in hand. Indolence and success, journeying from place to place, misery and repining without cause, seeking after riches, instability. The 8 Hod in the suit of water governs this card. It shows the influence of Mercury, but this is overpowered by the reference of the card to Saturn in Pisces. Pisces is calm but stagnant water, and Saturn deadens it completely. Water appears no longer as a sea, but as pools, and there is no Florence in this card as there was in the last. The lotus droops from lack of sun and rain, and the soil is poison to them. Only 2 of the stems show blossoms at all. The cups are shallow, old, and broken. They are arranged in 3 rows. Of these, the upper row of 3 is quite empty. Water trickles from the 2 flowers into the 2 central cups, and they drip into the 2 lowest without filling them. The background of the card shows pools or lagoons in very extensive country incapable of cultivation. Only disease and miasmic poison can flourish in those vast badlands. The water is dark and muddy. On the horizon is a pallid yellowish light weighed down by leaden clouds of indigo. Compared with the last card, it represents the opposite and complementary era. The one is the garden of country, the other of place of Hlingsor. In the psychopathology of the path, this card is the German measles of Christian mysticism. Good grief. Yeah, so the fact that I've got so many like negative cards in regards to water might be pretty indicative of something, the way I've been reflecting about it my whole life. Like, and I'm now, 30 minutes. I'm now regretting fucking saying this will be the last one and I was going to do all of them. Now I actually want to do just this one and then the next two and then the next one. And then that will make it 32. And then I think I'll make it 33, which will be the number of Freemasonry, the 33 vertebrae of the spine and all that other kind of thing. And then we have a nice, perfect number. I'm sorry, people. You thought it was the end? The end is never the end. I think that's the truth of it. The end is never the end, and I jumped the gun. Good grief. Okay, now Babylon's explanation of the Eight of Cups, indolence. Much to my wife's disappointment, this is her birthday card. Oh dear. Crowley didn't have much nice to say about the Eight of Cups. In fact, he called it the German measles of Christian mysticism and the very apex of unpleasantness. Is it any wonder this card has a bad attitude? Sorry, dear. Saturn is a heavy and hard-nosed downer, and this far down the tree of life, delicate Pisces doesn't have enough juice to put up any kind of fight. This card will have you playing solitaire till dawn with a deck of 51. Crowley's description of this unfortunate blending of force is priceless. The card represents a party for which all preparation has been made, but the host has forgotten to invite the guests, or the caterers have not delivered the good cheer. There is this difference, though, that is in some way or the host's own fault. Harris's interpretation of indolence is perfect. A stagnant pool, drooping blossoms. The top three cups are at the bottom of the card are empty, and two in the centers are spilling half their contents back into the sea. Zam. Okay. I'm gonna have to wonder what my birthday card in the small cards is, because that will probably be good for contemplation as well. I've actually learned so much from this fucking I keep saying it, man, but like it's like through this whole video or through the whole series, I've actually gained a whole new appreciation for tarot and how much symbolism can be crammed into it, and Kabbalah in general. It's insane, man. It really is. Anyway, we are going into happiness now. Look at that. It's happy. That is Jupiter in Pisces. All right. Complete and perfect realization of pleasure and happiness. Almost perfect self-praise, vanity, conceit, much talking of self, yet kind and lovable, and maybe self-denying, therewith high-minded, not easily satisfied with small and limited ideas. Apt to be maligning through too much self-assumption, a good and generous but sometimes foolish nature. The number 9, Yesod in the suit of water, restores the stability lost by the excursions of Nexarch and the Hod from the middle pillar. It is also the number of the moon, thus strengthening the idea of water. And this card is the pageant of culmination and perfection of the original force of water. The ruler is Jupiter in Pisces. This influence is more than sympathetic. It is definite benediction, for Jupiter is the planet of Hesed, which represents water in its highest material manifestation. And Pisces brings out the placid qualities of water. In the symbol are 9 cups perfectly arranged in a square. All are filled and overflowing with water. It is the most complete and most beneficent aspect of the force of water. The geomantic figure Laetita is ruled by Jupiter in Pisces, for its meaning consults the handbook of geomancy. Laetita, joy, gladness, is one of the best and most powerful of the 16 figures, for the solar, lunar, and mercurial symbols are at best ambiguous and treacherously ambivalent. Those of Venus portend rather relief than positive beneficence. Saturn and Mars are seen at their worst, and even the stable companion of Laetita, Acquistitio, has its unpleasant aspects, and even its dangers. But the consonants of Laetita, which this card amounts to little less than an identity. The wine is poured by Ganymede himself. unstinted vintage of true nectar of the gods, brimful and running over, an ordered banquet of delight, true wisdom, self-fulfilled in perfect happiness. Cool. Now, we can go to... Babylon. Nearly there. Yeah, it's just going to be just one suit today, actually. Never mind. Is everybody happy? Yes! See what happens when we return to the stability of the middle pillar? This is one of the best cards in the deck. Pisces, being the mutable sign of water, tends to stabilize this element. She is most welcome in Yesod, the sphere of the watery moon. Yesod is also the foundation, the Sephirah, that stabilizes the entire tree of life. This provides a most cozy and satisfying environment for lovable Jupiter to happily enjoy the good life as only Jupiter and his friends can. Jupiter also has an infinity to water. Hesed, the sphere of Jupiter, Crowley affirms, represents water in its highest material manifestation. Everybody is literally happy. Harris follows the color scales and pumps up the Golden Dawn model by straightening her streams of flowing water as if they were spurting from the lotus flowers and gushing under pressure into large, bold cups. The whole image is of one of luscious, surreal Victorian clutter. There is hardly room for her to include the symbol of Jupiter and Pisces at the top and bottom of the card. See, yeah. All right. And we are going to the last card of the suits. 10 of Cups. Mars in Pisces. It's the Malkuthian one. Satiety. Okay. Permanent and lasting happiness. Permanent and lasting success and happiness. Because inspired from above. Not so sensual as Lord of material happiness, yet almost more truly happy. Pleasure, dissipation, debauchery, quietness, peacemaking, kindness, pity, generosity, wantonness, waste, etc. according to dignity. Okay, this card represents a conflicting element. On the one hand, it receives the influence of 10, Malka, the Virgin. The arrangement of the cups is that of the Tree of Life, but on the other hand, they are themselves unstable, they are tilted, they spill the water from the great lotus which overhangs the whole system from one into the other. The work proper to water is complete and disturbance is due. This comes from the influence of Mars in Pisces. Mars is the gross, violent, and disruptive force which inevitably attacks every supposed perfection. His energy displays the greatest possible contrast with that of Pisces, which is both peaceful and spiritualized. Crowley advised Harris on the composition of this card, writing, the background, it ought to look menacing. There is something very sinister about this card. It suggests the morbid hunger which springs from Safate. The craving of a drug addict is the idea. At the same time, of course, it is the final agony of descent into illusion which renders necessary the completion of the circle by awakening the eld of the All Father. Had enough, the 10 of Cups could have been filled with the realization of the potential of the Suit of Cups. Instead, it is just filled with the concept of fullness. The cups had runneth over and are staining the carpet. Crowley blames this on Mars and Pisces. Mars is the gross, violent, and disruptive force which inevitably attacks every supposed perfection. His energy displays the great possible contrast with that of Pisces, which is both peaceful and spiritualized. This is the end of the line for the Suit of Water. Harris ignored the Golden Dawn model and coloring guidelines and created a Tree of Life from 10 rather than disturbed and tipsy cups. And that will be the end of the water suit. So I'm really annoyed that I said, oh, this is the final one, because I did not expect it to go for this long. Because I maybe I misinterpreted, but like I remembered like the suit for wands being much shorter because I went through a bunch of explanations, but maybe that was just an illusion, like most water is. Anyway, I will now bid you all farewell. I am starting to come up with a new saying that I'm probably going to say at the end of all videos, because it's probably quite important. So, thank you guys for watching. Please like, share, subscribe. And always remember, every man and woman is responsible for their own redemption, salvation, and inner light. See you later. Bye-bye.